That is very commendable. So, what do the people of your electoral area think about the new position you are going for? Because you've done so much for them, you are committed to them, you are doing a lot for them. You've stated a lot of the achievement, a lot of what you've done for them. So, what do they think about you running for Nugs president?
Well, so I've had a lot of them wishing me well because they know it is a bigger, platform that affords me the opportunity to serve students in a greater capacity. Because even as an assembly member, I've instituted an installation on all the ICT labs in the various schools in my electoral area where it affords students the opportunity to embark on research or on research works without necessarily connecting to internet. We know the cost of internet, it's quite high.
Yeah.
But this installation called QS, I partnered an NGO to have it installed in all the ICT labs in my electoral area for the various schools. And like I asserted earlier, it affords students to embark on research, students and teachers alike, to embark on research works without necessarily connecting to internet. And of course, they look at my track record and commitment to education, and they feel that I need a bigger platform to extend it. Recently, the AGRIPAH community mock, since I started this Nugs journey, I didn't restrict it to just North and Treso. So there was, a school at Kotenten, Wamase,
Yeah.
somewhere headed central region,
Wow.
became benevolence of that. And again, I had some students in some part of Volta region, some students in some part of Accra, all benefiting from the AGRIPAH community mock. So I believe that, of course, given the opportunity to serve as the union's president, it would afford me a bigger leverage, a bigger opportunity to expand this so that the entire Ghanaian students are able to benefit from these great initiatives that, of course, I have introduced in my electoral area.
Okay. It's thoughtful and quite thorough. This is a testament of your selfless leadership. How is Ghana treating you now? What do you think as an individual? What do you think about the current state of the nation?
Well, I think this needs to be put in proper perspective. And of course, it's hugely dependent on the metrics of measurement. What are we talking about in terms of what? It is quite vast, it is quite vague or ambiguous. So let's put it in perspective so that we're able to.
So if we say the economy is hard, or what do you think of the current situation in Ghana now is basically jobs, because that's what literally keeps the economy running. That is what speaks to the capacity of people. That speaks to how people are frustrated or are happy in the country. So with jobs, the economy, what do you think of the economy now?
Well, of course, we must first of all commend government, for the efforts we've had. YEA recently rolled a number of enterprises, that absorb graduates and, of course, people who have the commitment to work or enter into certain ventures. So we need to commend government. However, we've had backlogs for a number of years, and so regardless of the effort of government, it's still difficult for government to meet the needs of these unemployed people in Ghana. And so, of course, by extension, I must appreciate that, yes, of course, things are very difficult. And so government, I would propose, should as much as possible, try to engage private, agencies, private institutions, to create more jobs. There are a number of people with great initiatives that, of course, once they get the support of government, it will just augment whatever enterprise they are in. And then, of course, by expanding same, we are able to create a lot of jobs for people. So yes, the point is this: it is undeniable that yes, we have issues when it comes to jobs. However, we must also acknowledge the effort of government, and whilst we appreciate the effort of government, also make an appeal or a request of government to partner all the necessary agencies or the necessary institutions who have the capacity and the commitment to creating jobs, so that at least we are able to absorb, the rest of the people who are not able to fall in the enterprises government is creating. Because of course, not everybody, would find their skill in the enterprises government, keeps creating. However, we once we are able to get or streamline, the or explore the opportunities in the private, sector, we are able to create enough jobs, for Ghanaian unemployed.
Okay, I'll come to which side of the political spectrum you are in terms of you being a right wing or a left wing because of how you answer your questions. But I also want us to watch this video and you tell me what you think, because I don't know if you think or you've noticed that the patriotism and the selflessness of the youth is very low. The youth are not motivated, and that nobody wants to fight for the country. Everybody is leaving the country. Gone are the days where I could turn and I could see a lot of my friends out here. This very moment, you keep quiet and you are talking to your friend. The next moment, he's troubled. You're a very good friend, and I've noticed a lot of them. Whereas before, it wasn't like that. So I want us to watch this video, then you give me your comment on this.
Hey, look, if you go wake up in the morning, what do you do? Where you go sleep day? At least you get shelter, you go where? You go feel moving, you go feel move around, go from point A to point B. But don't kill yourself. Don't travel. You don't need, if you get an opportunity, make a legal documentation to go. But make you no go kill your body, say, Charlie, they take all your life savings, go abroad. Not for sure that you now to at least manage what you get. 25 or 27, no by force for buy house.
So, and this is the second video.
The difference between we and the American people or the Europeans, all those people want to be like, when things are not working in their country, they don't get up and pick their bags and say, we are leaving, we are going to another country to go and find greener pastures. You understand? They have their own issues. People have unemployment issues in America. People have job issues in America, accommodation issues. People are junkies and all of that working in the streets of America and other parts of the world. But when things are not working in their country, they make sure that they find ways to make sure the country works. But Ghana, you give the thing not the work now, say, challenge me, farm back, me farm with you. What about why not your money, man? I never get to that. So that's why some people have the effort and just to say that their fathers or their forefathers fought for the country to almost your woman. So what I saying is, what I'm saying is that we need to collectively work to save our country. Let's rescue. Some people are capturing our country. Let's work and rescue our country. It's as simple as that. So that when you go to Ghana, go to Kenya. Which people are fighting in Kenya? Is that American citizens or British citizens? They're Kenyans.
Okay, so I think we have the impulse of where the conversation.
Yeah.
So what do you think about it? Why do you think a lot of people are leaving? Why do you think a lot of people don't want to fight? Because personally, I've always maintained and said that I would always want to stay in Ghana regardless, no matter what. A lot of people disagree with me because most of my siblings, no, not most, all of my siblings are outside except me. But I think, okay, I want to stay and fight. But do you think it's worth it?
Well, so just like you mentioned, all of my siblings are abroad except me. And yes, of course, I've had the opportunity to travel around, travel to some countries. However, it is how we've created the systems, in other countries. We must also come to terms with this. Let's be clear on this, that it is not as though it wasn't like that. People always would want to take the opportunity to travel, except to say the opportunity that is available now weren't available as of those times. And it is very clear. Those times, people, they're in these vast opportunities of recruiting people into, the economic, environment of UK, US, Canada, and all those places. There weren't vast number of scholarships, that would afford students to move, and to an extent even move with their families and all of that. Look at this nursing thing that came. people would move with their dependents and all of that. And everybody who had the opportunity seized it. So it is just the fact that there weren't those opportunities as of those times. So let's be clear. It is not a matter of how difficult the country has been. Trust me, people still would have stayed if these opportunities weren't available to fight. But once there is an opportunity, people, I think it boils down to personal decision. For instance, you perhaps have the opportunity to travel. As I sit here, I have the opportunity to travel, but I have decided to be here. And it is because I have a commitment towards our country. And I feel that I have certain energies that, of course, when we put those energies together, like yours and mine, we form a bigger synergy to be able to fight, the issues that confront us as a people. However, I mean, to what ends are we fighting? To what ends? You ask a very laudable question. Is it worth it? You have people in Sri Lanka, you have people in Kenya and other countries recently, lead conversations. Yes, of course, recently we saw what happened in Kenya.
Yeah.
How they have to obstruct their parliament, so that they reconsider a financial budget that has been presented. That they felt that no, this is not going to do the country any good.
Yeah.
They fought it. It is sad that most of the people, most of the youth, that of course we are channeling these conversations on their behalf, are the very ones who are also doing the bidding of these men. And so, to what end are you fighting it? The ones, of course, they are very comfortable within where they are. They do not now consider, the external factors, because, of course, I have always said that if you create a society where you are the only person who is a bourgeoisie or a bourgeois, and you are doing well, you are thriving, you have your cars, you have your family and all of that, and everybody around you are quite impoverished, trust me, at a point when there is nothing for them to eat, you'll be the one they are going to feed on. And so not one man can form a convoy. A convoy is formed by many cars or many people. So we need to come to an appreciation, or we need to come to a point where, of course, we would have a collective appreciation of the issues that confront us and how we are going to fight this. I have always said that revolutions are led by men. Not many years ago, Singapore wasn't what it is now. Today, if you want to go for a vacation, trust me, when you are rich, you would not omit Singapore. But some years back, it wasn't. It took a man in the person of Yin Kuan Lee, who had his personal convictions, had a vision, sold his vision to like-minded people. They believed in that vision, and today here they are as a country.
Yeah.
It is clear. It is very communicative to us that once we set our minds to do, once we turn for ourselves a clear path, we are able to redeem our country. Rwanda, a civil unrest country. Today, Rwanda is one of the fastest developing economies. Trust me, I recently read an article, and in the article, it's mentioned how is it Kigali is the cleanest city in Africa.
Yeah.
This is a war country.
Yes.
How did they get there? It is leadership. I do not want to talk about their systems of government. So far as it is giving them results, that is it, simplicity. We need results regardless. And so for me, I think that we will need to renew our mentality. We need to renew our approach to issues, our disposition on issues. And as a youth, we need to understand that there is a future for us. There is a future for us. And that future, to an extent, is becoming quite oblique and opaque once we don't address the issues now. Once we try to be taking the bread and butter of these men who do not really put premium on our future, but of course put premium on the nouns. And it is what is deceiving a number of us. So we are not able to form that shield around ourselves to fight. I think that, of course, we need to turn a clear direction for ourselves and look at some of the the happenings, across other countries, and how the youth are shaping the narrative and getting these men to set up. We keep, ranting, we keep making a lot of noise that they should leave their post for the young people to take it. But my brother, until we are very honest with ourselves, you see, the small SLC that you are occupying, you are inflating figures. The small position, department, faculty, president, and all of those things, you are learning how to add zeros, you are learning how to inflate figures and all of those things. You see how people run elections and easy, and they pride themselves, oh, you're mafia, no, we've schemed the person and all of that. How you get people to, take people out of veterans, how we machinate people, and all of these things contribute to our makeup. So we get there as youth and we're already corrupted. So I think that we just need to have a renewed mentality. Sometimes, of course, it saddens my heart, because time and time again, people have questioned my mother, why have you allowed your son to be the only person to live in Ghana while he has his siblings here, and you, the parent, you're also here? You've left him to his fate and all of that. Why? My mother keeps telling them that that is the path that he wants to be on. I've advised him to be here, but he seemed not to find peace here. So I've allowed him to go to Ghana and serve his people. It was until when my mom came to Ghana and realized how, responsive I have been as a leader. And then of course, for her, it was now clear. And she became very clear in her mind that, of course, this is why my son doesn't want to come. But of course, that is a small jurisdiction that I have been given to serve. If everyone is being responsive in the small space that they've been given to serve, I believe that, of course, we would have strong mitigational structures to remedy some of these issues that confront us. It is very simple. A clear renewal of our mind. Our thinking faculty needs to change. We do not need to become puppets to people who do not care about our future, for people who are not prospective, for people who do not, find, future in our country and have secured for themselves and their family, better living elsewhere. Have done certain foreign investment that, of course, regardless of what happens for them and their families, they are going to be okay. How about you? And so and my brother, I am very disturbed about this situation, because of course you are fighting this battle, and you are asking yourself, to what end? To what end? Is it worth it? Like you rightly mentioned.
Because to an extent, I've realized that you go to America and you know that there is an American dream where even the first generation of your family are not rich. You can become rich if you put in the work.
Yeah.
But in Ghana, it's never like that. I've not seen people, people do dubious things for money. Let's put that aside. I've not seen people, or I've seen people who have worked all their life diligently in some of the best jobs you can have in Ghana. Accountant at Cocoa Board, accountant, a bank manager, managing a whole branch, and they can't even make ends meet. That is the shame, and that is where we've gotten to as a country, where a bank manager with 4 children cannot even manage a whole family through their salary and all the numerous benefits you get. And mind you, when you're working at Cocoa Board, you have certain benefits. You don't pay for hospital bills. You don't pay for drugs. You don't pay for a lot of things. But yes, so these people are not even able to make ends meet in the country. With a family of 4, a family of 2, and 1 small vehicle, they can't. They have to resort in living outside. So how do we improve this?
So it has to do with, what are the economic metrics? How is it working? How is inflation? Now I need to be very circumspect, because when you want to go into some of these things, people may politicize it.
Yeah.
But look at dollar, look at pound. I could open my phone for you to see. We go to tap and pound is nearing almost 20 cents.
Yeah.
I mean, so how are you going to, because remember, we are in a global village. Today, we are importing more than we are exporting. And so most of the things most of the products that we patronize in this country are imported. And when you look at it, clearly people would have to change monies, cities into dollar, into pounds before they're able to do these international transactions or these global transactions. And it is expensive. So it is already expensive. When it is expensive, how does the person sell it to be able to recoup the monies they have invested in it? So of course, clearly it means that the managers of our economy have a responsibility of making sure that, of course, these some of these things are properly regulated. Again, I think that we also need to, as a country,
Yeah.
consider price regulations, because one item like coke, you are buying coke 10 cities here, you go somewhere and they are selling it for 20 cities, you go somewhere and you are selling it for 30 cities and all of that. I mean, until a country is able to have a robust policy on price regulations and price control, then obviously the economy is going to be tattered, and it's obviously going to affect people and how people live. So I think that we need to have a clear conversation on the economic metrics, how they work, and how they move from the spirit of abstractism to reality, to what really affects the people, to what your packet really is saying. And I think that is how the conversation should be turned into, or should be.
Okay, that's right. So now let's fall back into Nugs conversations. We would have this conversation another day,
Sure.
but let's get back to Nugs conversations. You've monitored this administration. You've been a part of this administration.
Yeah.
What are the shortcomings of the administration that you would want to improve? What are some of the acts of this administration that you love, that when you come, you would want to continue? And because personally, one of the shortcomings I've seen from this administration is not being able to utilize all the executives. Birds have whispered in my ears that you realize that anytime the president, or most of the times when the president makes an appearance, he's alone or with his appointees. You don't see the elected executives. You also notice that the elected executives are dormant. Nothing is really going on. Everything that is going on is from the presidency. So I know there are internal wranglings, because at a point in time, I noticed this and it was very glaring, where the WUCOM, Women's Development, that's Suraya Bantama, she went to Parliament, to make certain claims and said, okay, this is the stand of Nugs. But meanwhile, the presidency and some part of the executives weren't in accordance or weren't in on it. So it became, a whole lot of issues. So I think that is one of the shortcomings of this administration. Though he's advocated greatly for so many projects, he's done so many great things, and as he continues to advocate. But that is one thing that I personally feel it's his shortcomings. The executives are not happy. He's not been able to keep his house in check. So what are some of the things you've noticed, and what do you seek to improve again? Or what do you seek to continue?
Personally, I would want to commend, greatly the 57th Nugs administration. Wholesomely, I firsthand experienced the WUCOM, Suraya Bantama, embark on a number of projects that I have really admired, right from the onset of the administration. She really pivoted, and moving from here, you look at the Secretary for Education, Master Bediako.
Yeah, Asari
Bediako.
Not to cut you, but he's also had problems. Birds have whispered. Even, some of these things that he did, I think with the quiz, something that he did recently, was a battle, was a struggle before he got there. But let's go.
Okay, so those I'm not privy to.
Okay.
But then what I know is that under his leadership, he's been able to organize, quizzes, and then also, inspected during the BEC, how
That is
things
minor.
were supposed.
That is minor.
How things were supposed to. It's not minor. You see, we cannot.
The president was also there.
No, we cannot minimize it because I was with him And trust me, we got to a place I do not want to mention the name,
Yeah.
and their papers had delayed until around 10.
Okay.
Meanwhile, after that, they were going to write another paper.
Yeah.
And other students already had commenced their paper. You could see the psychological effect and all of that. And once he was there, he made sure that things, were properly checked, and in the subsequent papers, it didn't repeat itself.
I beg to differ. I won't give him that credit. To be honest, I won't give him that credit.
Well, why would you not give him that
I wouldn't
credit?
give him the credit because an independent body organizes this examination, that is WAEC, and
But it
it's
needs
their
to,
sole mandate.
no, you see, yes, you are an individual who organizes that, but we should also appreciate that there are chain of commands,
Yes.
there are stakeholders in it,
Yes.
and he's a major stakeholder.
He's a major, but he doesn't have anything to do with BEC.
Sincerely, he had, but for him, subsequent papers could have gone through the same issues, but because he made attempt on it, and then of course put in some word, made some level of some sort of advocacy on how he thinks things should be run, so that it doesn't be. The deputy education minister was around. The deputy education, and then I saw at first hand his engagement with him. I was there,
but I won't give him that credit, to be honest.
Well, that is
because I've seen over times without number, even when I was writing BEC, that papers delayed. WAEC solved it. There was no Nugs precedent. Let's say, okay, there were other sectors. If it delays in a locality, it's delayed for everybody. Maybe not just that.
Well, so it wasn't a carte blanche, because I'm telling you that the same center, there were some schools writing and some schools who weren't writing. So of course we cannot, make it a wholesome conversation and make it look like it is a carte blanche or it was something that was happening concurrently. I beg to differ, but of course I am appreciating his leadership because I witnessed firsthand, his how he was able to handle this situation, and how he was able to provide leadership. So beyond that, of course, I've also seen, I think, the Secretary for Entrepreneurship and Innovation, something. I've seen him also organize some entrepreneurship programs, also for some schools. I think University of Education or Amstead, I think I saw him also have a program like that with them. A number of times I've seen him go to deliver speeches on some of these events and all of that. So when it comes to the coordination, I have been an ardent believer in delegation. So sometimes I feel that it may not necessarily seem as it looks, that the president is making appearance all by himself all the time. It could be that, of course, they are also attending to other events or other circumstances. And let me be quick to say that it is your perception, because you kept saying that, of course, it has been whispered to you, or Beth has whispered to you. So it is what you own, and then it is what you know. Unfortunately, I am not privy to some of these conversations, but what I know is that the president and his executives have worked as 57th Nugs administration, and they have done so well, and they are still delivering. Of course, I would not be in a haste to even judge them on what I think their deficiencies have been, because they still are in office, and trust me, people could do a lot in a day. So what I may even describe as dysfunctional or sort of not too proper in the administration could be rectified tomorrow, and they could have the 100% score. So I do not want to be in a haste to adjudicate on them. I think that they still have a number of days, they've still outlined activities, and they are still delivering. So let's trust in them and believe in their leadership until the mantle of leadership move to.
Is it that you are exercising restrictions because you are also contesting in the same election where he's president?
Well, not necessarily. You see, I have my own approach to issues, or how some of the events he has handled. If I were the president, I would have handled in a different way. I had my own approaches. But then it is also clear that his approach hasn't been entirely bad. yes, people may have reservations around how he goes about things. It is style of leadership, and so we need to give him that credence or that credit to himself and his other executives. If they are internal wranglings, then I believe that, of course, as mature as they are and as coordinating as they are, they should be able to. Because yes, of course, there were times I had heard one or two issues, but then of course I attended a program at Tamale, and I
You were
saw,
there.
yes, I saw some
Everybody
of
was
them there.
there.
Well, for the everybody, I do not think that even if you were the president all the time, you'd have all your executives with
No.
you. Exactly. So let's be circumspective when it comes to dealing of some of it. And of course, we must also appreciate that people, throw in a lot of, um, um, issues that, of course, they do not have full appreciation of the issue. So we need to be circumspective and then, of course, restrain a bit and ensure decorum in handling or making comment on some of these issues.
Though I trust my sources. I
Well,
want.
certainly, sometime when you have the opportunity to interview Master Shremi upon Daniel, I'm
I
sure
would.
I know
I
you're a
want to.
very astute person, and of course, the way you are very bold in asking your questions, you will not mince words when you get to meet
He's
him.
my very good friend. I
You'll
want him
be,
on this show. Actually, I'll be in Accra to host him on that. I also said before we got to the video, I also wanted to ask, which side of the political spectrum are you? Are you on the right wing or are you on the left wing?
okay, so we are having conversations around the union
Yeah.
and how we think the union needs to be led.
Yeah.
One of the issues that I have had
Yeah.
sincerely has been about political infiltrations in our student form. I have always argued that the issues that confront us are never wrapped in colors.
Yeah.
I have always substantiated that. I mean, you wouldn't go and pay school fees and they ask you whether you're MPP or NDC, that if you are MPP you are going to pay 2,000, and if you're NDC you are going to be paying 4,000 or 5,000. I do not think things operate or work that way. If it doesn't work that way, then of course it is prudent that, of course, we approach this issue with a lot of objectivity and neutrality, so that, of course, we're able to tackle the issues head on. So personally, yes, of course, I do not, disassociate myself, and that will be the height of, being hypocrite. That I argue that, of course, I do not believe in any political principle. No, Aristotle has constantly, and I have constantly, quoted him. He says, by nature we are political animal, and as such we do not live in isolation, we live in an interdependency. By inverse interpretation means that we all belong to certain political faction, ideology, principles, and tenets. However, I think that when it comes to the front of students, we will need individuals who are able to, beyond political colors or the political colorization, at least be able to put strong premium on objectivity and neutrality, so that we're able to tackle our issues head on. So yes, of course, in as much as I may love to, of course, expound to you or get you to appreciate what my political beliefs are, I think that in the conversations of our union, it should not even be a subset of a conversation. It's a non-starter. It needs to be shredded. It should not be part of the conversation. We need to throw it somewhere, so that regardless of the colors of white, blue, red, regardless of the colors of black, red, green, and all of that, of course, we are able to put ourselves as students and not as political facilitators.
Okay, so I wasn't trying to bait you into what side. I wasn't trying to bait you to answer what side of the political divide you are on. But since you're an assembly member, you've talked about some of the things you've done and how you've answered certain questions. I just felt, it's more on the, leftist side of the divide because of how you approach issues.
Yes, but the those who even coin this whole liberal democrats, social democrats, have not really been practitioners of same.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would have them come to office and the liberal is doing social interventions, and you would get an inverse, approach to same. So yes, I have always instituted that it is the system that works for us, And yes, we need to also appreciate the sophistications of issues and the dynamics that comes to play, the circumstances that borders or surrounds an issue. They will call for the approach or a certain type of, approach or theory that needs to be applied. And so clearly, when it comes to some of these conversations, then of course we would need to relook at it in diverse
Okay,
forms.
so I had a regional coordinator, David Ohinamwakon, who is currently the
Grassak,
Grassack president,
Saskatchewan.
Saskatchewan. Yeah, he always had a statement: "What is good. What is bad is bad." But what you are saying, I believe yes, we all have fundamental principles. That is why we are left or we are right. But when you know that this is good and you can embrace it, you always
Certainly,
embrace it.
certainly.
Okay, so I would like to touch on your policy document
Okay,
because you are running for this position.
okay,
Because I've gone through thoroughly,
okay,
and I must say I like some of the things I'm saying.
okay.
Some of the things too, well, I don't know if time would permit you to execute all of them because it's quite lengthy. So let's start with, okay, let's start with this. What do you think your landmark project would be?
Okay, so it will be about edu revamp.
A revamp.
Yeah, it will be about edu revamp, and for that we are looking at conducting surveys across campuses to identify the specific educational challenges
Sure.
that confront students or students usually face. There is a clear detachment when it comes to how we approach issues. So funny enough,
Yeah.
in contesting for this position, I've traveled around and you meet some leaders, SLC leaders, and trust me, they do not even know what mix is about.
Yeah.
And so they do not even have a channel of communication, how things needs to be done. However, the secretariat is in Accra. We look at what we think we need to do, at least, so that boredom do not catch us as an administration that we need to do something. But for all the things we do, are they really things that resonate with the very institutions that we are manning or the very institutions that form our union? So I think that of course we need to conduct surveys that afford us to appreciate really what the issues are, so that we are able to best tackle them. And of course, yes, of course we call that a edu revamp, but I have a subtitle called Nugs to the grassroots, where we are being directly responsive to the issues. And in the preamble, you remember we mentioned how we will need to avoid the bureaucracies, so that of course leaders are able to get directly to the national secretariat, to label their issues for redress.
Okay, so you have curriculum advocacy, where you
Yeah,
say collaborate with academic boards and the Ministry of Education to revise outdated curricula
yeah,
and incorporate skills training, where skills training suggests STEM.
yeah.
But let's go. So what brackets are we looking at? Is it the basic system, the senior high school, or the tertiary?
Well, it cuts across. You see, I think yesterday I had the opportunity to be in a Akropong,
Yeah.
somewhere eastern region, Presbyterian College of Education,
Yeah.
and I was inquiring some of the courses that they offer, and then again comparing same to Presbyterian College, I think Women's College of
Yeah.
Education, also somewhere Amenfi, Abetifi,
Yeah.
around that area. And you realize that of course we all are college of education, but some of the things we do are not really in tandem. So even when it has to do with home economics now, they call it GK. you realize that the components are quite different, but we all are going out to teach the same student. Remember that if you are in JHS and you have a vocational madam who comes to teach you home economics or vocational studies, sometimes you could have about two of them,
Yeah.
you know. So this one takes from this period to this period, and then the other also from that to that. And in their streams of education or in their lines of education, it differs. Their approach is different. This one says that we are doing science and home economics, and this one says, oh, we are doing just home economics
The
without
variation.
the science, the variations. So you realize that this one comes to teach you a different approach, the other also comes to teach, and of course it is quite confusing. And so I think that there is a clear call that needs to be made to reviewing our curriculum, but then of course this needs to be done through stakeholder consultation, stakeholder engagement, and all of that. And of course this is what I mean by the curriculum advocacy, where of course we involve the Ministry of Education. In fact, I think I was at Tamale when the Minister of Education, Dr. Yahweh Duchum, made his personal comment on some programs that some schools are offering students or students are pursuing, and he had to label um his own dissatisfaction about how it is going to ultimately affect students when it comes to being absorbed into the job market and
But
all
he's
of
at
that.
the helm of affairs. So how come it's not changing?
Yes, you see, things do not work outrightly like we think it should be. You see, there are systems, and there are modus operandi, around. It is not an outright decision. And just like you are certain, somebody asked him the same and said, "You are in the helms of affairs. Why are you not changing it? You are making a comment on it." And that actually discourages students who are already in it. Why are you not changing it? And you realize that there should be a proposition from the vice chancellors, go through a lot of processes, even though there is a point where when it gets to, he's able to veto, but until it gets to that point, those conversations could not even be had. However, I think that it is prudent that of course we are able to write from the scratch, involve the various stakeholders, so that it doesn't even get to that place where it is now becoming a dent on students.
So where do you think is easiest to change? Is it the basic school level, the senior high school, or the tertiary institution?
Well, it's dependent. It's like I mentioned, it depends on the consultations that you've done. And of course, Nugs is not only about tertiary, education. We need to give some level of focus to pre-tertiary, and we need to also look at the basis. What are their needs and the things that they are being taught? I mean, is it even useful now? What needs to be reviewed and all of those things? We are going to do very diligent work when it comes to curriculum advancement and advocacy.
But if you, my fear is if you put all of them in a box and you don't separate it and say, okay, let's tackle this first, you might not even do any work at the end of the day. That is my fear.
So segregatively, yes, of course, that is going to be done. But my point to you is that we are not going to leave anything unturned. For me, given the opportunity to serve my brother, best believe there's not going to be honeymoon. I mean, we start work right from there. And so of course committees are going to ad hoc committees are going to be set to look into some of these things thoroughly and see how best we are. If you've noticed, I'm an ardent believer of delegation. I believe in the competencies and the abilities of people.
I think you said that during your vetting when they asked how you are going to marry.
Exactly. So you remember, proud to we coming here, I made some statements to you that I look out for talent, I look out for the potentials of people, and I tap into it. So in this campaign, I've engaged and encountered very smart and intelligent people who have made strong propositions to how the direction of our union should be and what we need to change at the basic level. I mean, most of these policies I did not sit in my room to carve them. It is engagement that, of course, I had with stakeholders. You know, there are people who are doing primary education, there are people who are doing JHS education and all of that. We
Yeah.
have engaged these people thoroughly and clearly understand their plight, understand what we think needs to be changed and what needs to be looked at. And for those people who make these proposals, trust me, when you believe in their abilities, also have resolutions to them. And it is exactly what we are going to do. We are going to tap into their abilities to be able to resolve some of these issues.
Personally, when I was, during my undergrad days, I wrote an article because I realized that tech as an institution introduced certain programs like, let's say, post-harvest technology.
Okay.
And at the point in time, only 4 people in the university was offering that program. So I'm like, how do lecturers sit down and come up with this and they know it's not working and wait for people to get into it and, churn out of the university after that and not get jobs? And they are not changing it. I don't know why education is being so conservative. For more than 60 years, our educational system hasn't changed until recently, where they are introducing STEM. That is the pre-tertiary, sector.
Yeah.
You notice that UCC was offering oil and gas at the point in time. So many people churned out of their system and got out without jobs, and after that, they discontinued the program. What are we doing to these people who introduced these programs that have failed? Because if it was to be in any other sector where you have this level of failure, where you have led certain people to pay money to be prepared for the job market, and at the end of the day, when they leave school, you discontinue the program and they don't get any jobs. So many people from that time who did oil and gas in UCC, no jobs. And I know a handful of them. Just like I'm saying, post-harvest. Right now, KUSC also introduces another program and calls it packaging technology, where lecturers go to class and they are telling them, oh, packaging technology is very good, but you are going to get a job outside of Ghana. And I'm thinking, you look at the composition of packaging technology and post-harvest, and it's almost the same. I wrote an article at the point in time, and I gave it to a certain media house on campus, and they said, oh, the school URO says anything that is going to dent the image of KUSC or question or put it in disrepute, you can't put it out there unless you run it by him. And I'm like, then how is there going to be change? Fast forward, the government gets into the school and realize that there are so many programs that haven't even been registered, and they are just like there. So what should happen to these people that introduce, because we are saying this is academia, these are people's life. How do you introduce this thing and know it doesn't work, and you watch them to get out of school, pay school fees, and nothing happens? What do you think should be made to mitigate some of these concerns?